everybody.
What is up with y'all?
What's going on with
We
y'all?
are
We're back. We're back with another episode, y'all. And as you can see,
We got some guests.
we have two new guests that we will introduce. Welcome, Pastor Mo and Pastor Travis.
You already
Good.
know. I already know we're here.
So good to be here.
Yes.
I feel like I got invited to Siblings in the Spirit podcast, bro.
You know what? This is my first podcast. I don't really.
Wow.
I'm just a janitor right now.
Oh man,
In the faith, I'm a janitor. So I ain't up there yet.
I'm excited because this is just like I love y'all. So
You've been on podcast though.
I have.
So this gonna look like she been on podcast.
Okay.
That's how we gonna see the difference.
Oh yeah.
So yes, welcome,
crazy.
welcome. We are so excited to have you both here. So we'll get into a little bit more later about you guys and who you are and all that jazz. So we normally do a spiritual checkup. Every time we do a podcast, we do a spiritual checkup, and we basically just say what the Lord has laid on our hearts since we met the last time, and how He has done things for us, and all that jazz, and just say where you are spiritually. So for me, my spiritual checkup, the Lord has been dealing with me on consecration, on just letting go of the things of this world, and not being conformed by this world, but being transformed by the renewing of your mind. And the Lord has just placed on my heart to do some things. We just had last night.
A full night of worship.
Oh my
I
gosh,
call
the two
it-
of y'all here?
No,
it was
it
all
was
of
us.
us. It
and
was like-
a whole bunch of people.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was, I call it Full of Worship Fridays.
Okay.
And I'm going to invite y'all to the next one.
Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out.
Hey, wait a minute. Why?
Okay.
I feel you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We
So-
just
Oh
did
my god.
It was just like a bunch of us here, and we literally just, me and Jamison, like put the playlist together,
Okay.
and we just turned it on shuffle and had a full
Yeah,
night
we was
of
worshiping
worship.
for a cool little 4 hours, and it felt like 2.
Yes.
Really?
Everybody didn't leave till like 11 o'clock.
That's
last night.
crazy.
Oh, wow.
It
So we're
started
just
around-
sitting
Wow.
in the overflow of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Y'all different.
And
For real.
I just thank God for my obedience, because one person said that they weren't going to come, but she was like, I'm just so glad that I did come because I needed this. Not even realizing, sometimes your spirit needs something.
Yes.
And everything's happening and everything's like, going one way, and you're like, oh, I just need to be here in this moment,
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just
was an
sitting in the
amazing
overflow
night.
of that.
Yeah, it was an amazing night. As for me and my spiritual checkup, God's working with me on like confidence and being confident in Him to the point where I could just walk anywhere and be like, my God got it, I'm cooling, and a lot of that, and He's also working with the process of that with me, like, not only giving others grace, but giving myself grace, because that's how deep rooted it is. But yeah, that's where I'm at, progress and just working through that. So yeah.
What about y'all?
Go ahead and go, bro.
You know what? Spiritual formation is levels to it. And so whenever you are out of bounds anywhere, there's this for me, there's this checkup of, whether it be my attitude or whether it's the things that I'm thinking. That's the stuff that I feel like I'm in now. The Lord has really been dealing with me with this aspect of just becoming like Him in the scriptures, talking about being a disciple and all that, being like the rabbi. That part is not always easy. It ain't just reading your Bible and doing Christian stuff. It's in the way you think. It's in your attitude. So it's those little aspects that I'm just like, wow, man, like I'm tripping. Like, and it's naturally. So I don't even try to not have an attitude sometimes or not try to. I don't be thinking about it. It just happens, and I'm like, how quickly the flesh can strip away, and so you got to check it over time. So that to me is very like, it's very humbling because it don't matter how long I've been following the Lord or being shaped by Him. Like that process don't stop.
Yeah.
And so it's a real check and being humble in it.
Okay. All right. Okay, so my spiritual checkup is based on the fact that I have to practice what I preach. So I just finished dealing with the two systems, system of the cistern and the system of the springs, out of Jeremiah 2:13.
If y'all ain't seen that, y'all might
please go back.
Go back and
why
watch
you
that.
wouldn't
That
watch
was
that.
amazing.
Go. They can put the link to it in the show notes. But anywho, like, man, I knew I was getting ready to be tested in this some kind of way. And so it feels like immediate testing on which system do you trust? Do you trust the limited systems of the world, of the cisterns, or do you trust the kingdom system? So as of late, as of the last couple of days, I've had to be challenged in that in different ways. The theme keeps coming up of the things that are unreliable around me versus the living water that will never run dry. So I've been processing those two concepts lately. And so, the Lord says to me, as He always does, He'll be like, oh, okay, you can preach that real good. Now you got to live it. Thank you very much.
That's normally how it is.
That's how it is.
That's exactly right.
So yes, we're gonna get right into it. So for those who don't know, this particular episode is about godly dating and godly marriage. You want to start by introducing our guests?
Yeah. So these guys, we've known them for a very long time.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I've known them my whole life. Let's keep it a buck. I'm only 17. So, I've known them a long time. They really have helped us out tremendously at our church, New Life in Christ in O'Fallon. Shout out to them. And so, I'm going to let them introduce themselves because their reputation speaks for itself. So,
Jameson, we go back to children's ministry, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
I was Jameson's kids pastor. That's the crazy part about it.
Yep.
And Pastor Travis was my teen pastor.
This is too much. Yes,
You want to talk about full circle? Full
Yes.
circle.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, I was a kids pastor. I've been in ministry for now since 2013. I was a teacher before that, and so the Lord called me out of teaching. Reluctantly, I went into full-time vocational ministry as a kids pastor for almost 7 years. After that, I went to serve kids pastors in those who are leading children's ministries in the International Network of Children's Ministry. I did that for 4 years, and that was a lot of fun. Learned a lot there. So I got to step back from kind of like being on the ground in church, and then step away from that for a while to support the church, because children's ministry is the most strategic and futuristic ministry of the church. That's a quote by someone I used to, by a friend of mine and my old boss. But anyway, so I did that, and then now I'm back, and I'm working in our church, serving in our church, spiritual formation, discipleship. And so I'm enjoying that. That's my jam.
You got a resume.
But listen, people always want to talk about what they do, but not who they are. I'm a wife. I'm a disciple, lover of coffee, and lover of people and fun and getting together and just conversing, having a good time over good coffee or food. That's who I am.
Now we call her Pastor Mo, but her name is Mahogany.
But now my name is Mahogany.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's not Moesha or any of that.
Or Mohogany. It's
Right.
Mahogany.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't like to follow her resume because it's deep. I just serve some kids. I work at ministry called Kids Across America, KAA.
You
You
know.
know, so I've just served there a little bit over between the times, a little bit over 10 years as a camp director. Currently serving as the interim executive director. Just some slight.
Okay.
Some slight.
But yeah, so it's kind of weird talking about myself because I don't necessarily see myself positionally. I've seen myself servant wise, and I think about my job means more, and the things that I do means more to me when I do things behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So that's what I think more so about, like, that's who I really am. So all this other stuff y'all see up front, I'm like, that's just what I do presentation wise, but the real work happened when I'm sweating and ain't nobody seeing me. So also I like to follow up, I'm a husband and been married, 8 years, babe?
8 years.
Old school, 8 years.
Old school.
And
old school.
and I'm a coffee connoisseur. Okay. So I do my
Not
thing.
Not a coffee lover, but a coffee connoisseur.
I'm bougie with it.
There's levels to this.
Little bit. Y'all just go to Starbucks. I shop for places.
Coffee connoisseur, lover of books.
Love
extreme
books.
Introvert.
I like to. What's weird? But I like a good book, but I like the smell of a new book.
Okay,
I'm with that.
You see what I'm saying?
So like when you walk into Barnes and Noble, that's your jam.
Yeah. When I say I'm in that thing, and I'm just like, I can't just be over to just extra books. It got to be just the Christian section.
Yeah.
So I'm opening them up, sniffing them. So I like to be in that world. So I'm a nerd, low key. The Lord just gave me a thug's body, but I'm low key a nerd. That's really what it is.
A nerd and a thug's body. Oh, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, you good.
So as a champion of the next generation, that's like if I had to nail down my one statement about myself, it would be that. And so as a champion of the next generation, I am so excited to be sitting with the next generation of just disciples, of leaders. It just means this is crazy. So let's go.
All right.
We're honored to have you.
Yeah, we are so honored.
Appreciate that, fam.
So everyone, this is Pastor Mo and Pastor Travis.
Yep, that's them.
So, we kind of gave a summary of who you are. Mm-hmm. We would also like for you to give a summary of your faith story. I know it might be huge, but
if you
just
could condense, just a little something.
Just a little something.
You got a deep faith story.
But I'll go first. You went first last time. So to summarize, I have been in church all my life, but I remember when I gave my life to Jesus, I was 4 or 5 years old. I can't remember which one, but I was really, really young, and my dad, who's a pastor, he led me to Christ while we were listening to some Christian music. And he, which is of course, he took the prime opportunity, which is what you're supposed to be doing as a parent. You should be the first to introduce your kids to the Lord.
Sad music in the background. Our heart is open. Our heart is now open.
The heart's open, right, as a little kid. So he introduced me to Jesus using kind of the lyrics from the song as a segue. And I've been walking with the Lord ever since. Now, that don't mean that walk that sometime he ain't been on one side of the street and I've been on the complete other town. Mm-hmm. But pretty much grew up in church and have been in the faith community. But when I went to college, where I was still kind of in the faith community, it was after college where I was kind of had a season of separation from the Lord. And I think my story really is that knowing God for yourself and not leaning on or not depending on the fact that you have other people around you that know God or that you've known God for a long time. Mm-hmm. It's Him caring about me for me and not about any of the other trappings of my life in the faith community. Yeah. But Him pursuing me for me and then me responding to that pursuit. So I did take a little wild out season break. But that's because I really wasn't walking directly in discipleship with somebody. Had I been walking with someone directly, I don't think that I would have detoured in the ways that I did. But I detoured for a couple of years. I didn't lose faith or anything. I just was like, I'm going to do me. Because, you know, we be thinking, oh, well, you know, I've been straight and narrow for so long and I need to have my time to wild out too. And that's a lie because it's never worth it. Just be honest. It's never worth it. So if that's your story and you've been with the Lord your whole life and that's just what it is, then let that be what it is. You ain't got to detour.
Yeah.
You ain't got to learn from experience. That's a whole lie. So anyway,
from the pits of hell.
That's crazy.
That's a whole lie. That's a whole lie. So anyway, I detoured, but I came back, and yeah, man, just I have found deep pain and joy at the same time, learning how to be vulnerable as a person, as a woman, as a disciple. So yeah, that's like a little teeny tiny tidbit of my story.
You see, it's different because I can kind of fill in some holes because I've had the conversation with you, I heard your story, so I know that version. But anyway, on my side, it was when I always tell people there was a duality there. I was close to church, but I wasn't forced to go. In other words, there was a church down the street. My granddaddy went, and I would go with him. So I was exposed to it. I saw it. But it wasn't until my mom got married to one of the deacons at this church. I was going to this Kojic church for a minute. My mom met her husband there. And that's where my exposure and my kind of shaping of my faith happened. It was in there. I just kind of was always at church. I was always around church. We kind of had that old school type of faith growing up where we were just always there, always around church stuff. So when I got to the point of my age where I could be like, yo, I'm not doing this no more, I left. And that was just freedom. But we know how that actually is. What we think is actually freedom is actually a set-up trap. It's a bear trap.
It's a bear trap.
You getting out of the protection of the Lord.
Yeah. So I ran as far as I can and as fast as I can. But anybody knows anything about running, eventually you get tired. Mm-hmm. And that's where the Lord found me at a place where I was tired and frustrated and angry at him and just acting like he didn't hear me this whole time. And so, you know, maybe a few years ago, I've been walking with the Lord, you know, a little bit. And it was a few years ago that the Lord reminded me of those times that I was running with him, tired, frustrated, angry. And he was just like, you know, I was there the whole time. It was as if he was saying, like, I wanted you to vent that towards me. Yeah. So it was like, I didn't want you to live like you thought I was, but you didn't acknowledge it. I didn't want you to sit with those thoughts. I wanted them to come out. So he reminded me of how close he was in those moments. And I was like, wow, bro, like, you really was there. Because I felt his presence. Yeah. I really did. I just didn't want to acknowledge his presence. But I low-key felt it. Yeah. And so all of that takes me back to the place where that to me sparked my curiosity of, okay, was he there? Like, okay, well, maybe he was there back then. And I started investigating my life. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, he was there. So I'm leaning more into him being present, him loving me, him not judging me, like all of these different things, which made me fall in love with him a little bit more. I started pulling him closer like a friend that I can only tell my secrets to. So I started treating him like that. And when I noticed that my actual physical friends I couldn't tell my secrets to, it drew me to him closer. So I'm just like, I'm just going to talk to you then. Yeah, so it was in that I started talking to him. I'm assuming, I'm like, I know he's got to be listening because I'm just like, I'm not weird, so I'm not talking to myself. You know? So I'm just like, I know he got to be listening. So I'm talking to the Lord and growing and I'm asking questions. I'm not telling people that this is what I'm doing. Like, all this is happening behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. So I'm in my room, I'm praying. You know, my mom, I just laughed with my mom the other day. She was like, you remember you used to write those scriptures and put them all over the room? And I used to just try to be, you know, I'm going to memorize them. So I would write them down and tape them on the wall and just like stare up and read them. So I was just falling in love with him. I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. I just knew he was the only one
that was listening.
Yeah. And he was the only one that saw me. So I used that as my fuel, and I started to throw gas on it, and everything kept leading me back to him. So all that to say, I got to a point where I was just like, it's only you then. I was like, if it's nobody else, then it's just you. It's just you and me. And when I accepted the fact that I may be lonely, but with him, I was okay with that loneliness. I was just like, I'll take that loneliness. And it was weird because friends you knew from kindergarten were just falling off. You like, I thought he was going to be there. Like, we know each other from kindergarten.
Yeah.
But over time, they started hanging out less. They started calling less. They started checking up on you less. And then you're like, dang, I am alone. It is just me and him. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not going to try to make something happen. I'm just going to be with this me and him thing.
Yeah.
And so that's how it's been for years until I ran into my best friend over here. But outside of that, it was just me and him. So that's a short version. Y'all can get in the extended version. Go to my website. I ain't got no website. But, Let me stop.
Well, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
But I totally understand where you're coming from. I kind of have a similar story as far as like just noticing like God was the only one that was really listening and paying attention. Yeah. And then everyone else was just like doing their own thing. Yeah. And being in the background. Yeah, yeah. But yeah. So we're gonna go get into the pod and get into the meat and potatoes of everything. Mm-hmm. So can you guys just give us like I guess kind of like a summary of your relationship? Like how did y'all meet and you know?
I'm gonna let her tell the truth. I'm trying to find. Go ahead.
Man, so we, which is a part of the testimony of our relationship, which I'm sure we'll get to, but we met in church. We met in church. Yeah. We met in church because at the time, I was filling in because we didn't have a youth pastor, which y'all heard me say I was a children's pastor, so I have an affinity for all young people. However, teenagers wasn't really my gift when I stepped in because, you know, there was somebody who was needed. So we had a member of our church who she's with the Lord now, rest in peace, Tanya Varner. She was like, you need to bring some people up from KAA because and at the time, Babe was interning there. So she was like, yeah, you need to bring up some people from KAA because, you know what I mean? At the time, there was a guy working there in HG called, his name was PJ. And so she was like, you need to bring PJ up here because he can help you with youth ministry and or like know about it. And I'm like, okay, fine, like whatever, you know, he can help you get some more strategy.
Wait,
so
before you go in there, low key she was trying to slide PJ. Nah, I ain't saying nothing.
In the I love position, you, no,
huh?
Nah, because I was not interested in him. This was all about
PJ. Don't watch this, bro. We just having some.
It wasn't about that. It was literally about, can he offer some things? Like, are we doing this right? Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to carry on what was done before me. Yeah. And so the slick part about it was we had an opening, obviously, for a youth pastor. So PJ and I was colluding to bring you there to see if it was like interesting. Like you might want to consider the position. So anyway, so they end up coming up there and Travis and I, you know what I'm saying, I guess we just became friends. Like the Lord at the time was bringing various people into my life that were like these godly kingdom relationships. So I was like, oh, bet, like, Lord, like you just brought this new brother into my life. Like he's going to really be helpful and blah, blah, blah. But the more we got to know each other, the more it was like, oh, well, maybe there's something there type of vibe. And so, yeah, and he ended up working there, and really the rest is history. That's what I always say. Like, after that, you know what I mean? Like, once Travis told me that he was interested, like, his number one thing, or, like, something he was just like, this is what I really want to do in life, man. I just want to pastor my kids. Like, I just want to lead my kids to Jesus and be like a pastor in my own home. What's the man saying?
Who says that?
Yeah.
Who says that?
I ain't gonna
What
lie.
am I?
Who
You know
does
what I'm
it?
saying?
You know,
Man, I ain't gonna lie. You do be saying
Listen.
stuff just randomly.
profound,
I'm like,
Listen.
you know what? Wait a minute.
Wait a minute, hold on.
I gotta.
So
You know that's
Immediate
No.
swoon.
That's
Immediate,
that's some heavenly
yes.
game right
You know
there.
what?
It is. Go ahead and
that's-
pick it
that's
up, bro.
some-
Like, go ahead and let it
That's some
contextualize
heavenly-
it for your own journey.
Yeah.
You know
I'm
what?
like, okay, great. So that's how we met. We met in church. I was just doing my thing, serving the Lord, trying to get better, and he just popped up. And initially, I wasn't. I mean, bro did try to come in there with some like anomaly. He had an anomaly T-shirt on because Lecrae had just been on tour, so he had on. And I had seen the show. Me and my brother went to the show. And so he had the anomaly shirt on. This man came up here with some boots on. It was like May. I was like, why did this man have on boots? Like, it's not even hot out, cold outside.
Boots is a thing that I do. So it ain't.
He do
the
boots.
boots is what I do. It ain't what I wear.
He
you
do
know.
he
so
do
it's-
boots now. And it's like, you know what I'm saying, it's in the March. So anyway.
Praise God.
Yeah, bro came in there with the boots and the shoulders, and I was like, I ain't looking at him because this ain't even about that. That's about ministry.
But you know
And
what
so,
though?
Whatever. So that's that.
We
that's that part.
so really we came together from two different headspace. So it wasn't like she was trying to find a man, I was trying to find someone.
Yeah.
So that's the clarity part. We wasn't going in thirsty. We was going in really. She's serving, I'm serving, and when we came together, it was from the premise of serving.
Yeah.
So it was just
Yes,
like that's what
the
we trying
whole
to do.
thing.
But all that brought us together where we began a friendship from there. And that's the part that really like started to really help us grow closer.
That's why I say I met him in church serving the Lord. That's not to say that you can't meet somebody not in church, but
Right.
that I was in the vineyard doing the work of the Lord, and then the Lord brought along a person. Which
That
I
was
had,
I was just about to say. I was going to say it sounds like both of you were, you know, just doing what the Lord had laid on your heart to
Oh,
do,
yeah.
Yes.
and then it just so happened that y'all met.
Yep.
Yep.
And
When
formed
I
a
woke up
friendship.
that morning and put on that little, I had a shirt with an elephant on it and some like brown jeans, I think, and my hair was in a bun. And when I woke up that morning, I had no idea I would be meeting the person I would marry, but it is what it
And
is.
you know what? I was in a space there, you know, just being honest with you. I was over trying to be superhero, save Jackson over here. I'm over here just, man, whatever you want, Lord. I don't care if I'm single for the rest of my life. Like, that was low-key in me. But underneath that was just like, but if you don't
But
mind.
if you slide something
Yeah.
my way.
Now, if you got something out there, I ain't finna
Right,
just be
ain't gonna
like,
reject it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Man,
but I'll go wherever you want to go. You know, I kind of said that, but in my head, I'm like, but not to Africa, not to, you know, I have my
Yeah.
limitations. But I'm just like, God, if she's somewhere close, I just need to be around when that
Put the
happens.
GPS in the phone.
Yeah, just show me.
If you could, please. That's so funny.
oh,
So, you kind of answered the first question. So, what does godly dating or courtship look like, and how did you navigate your relationship while dating?
Well, I'll say this. It's, when we talk about godly dating, to me, I always like to approach the thing slow. So you got to think about, first, when you're talking about godly, that's the standard right there.
Yeah.
So you can't even go into the dating until you've addressed where your relationship with God is. And so that is going to affect, is going to influence all the other part with this dating aspect. And so we have to look at it through the lens of, is this something that would help me grow closer to the Lord? Not even from a dating perspective, but even just a relationship. Just to ask yourself, is this the kind of relationship? Not necessarily dating. Is this the kind of person that would push me closer to the Lord? Is this the type of person I would even be interested in learning a little bit from? Is this the type of person that models a life that I admire? So you're just talking about a relationship. In that part of relationship and dating, that's the part that you start to become curious about.
Yeah.
I wonder how this person would treat their kids. I wonder how this person, relationship with their family looks like. So now you're investigating that person's life outside of what y'all know. Now you're saying, I want to know who this person is externally. When I see this person externally, then I'm starting to investigate even more internally. So now I want to know some things in terms of like, hey, did you ever plan on getting married? What are your thoughts on marriage? So now I'm getting a perspective. So all of the godly dating starts from you saying, I'm going to see this person through the lens of how God would view this person. Mm-hmm. And God would view this person first saying, where is his relationship with me?
Right.
So why wouldn't I say, where's your relationship with him? Like, right. Why wouldn't I say that? So I have to make sure, in the same way, if that person had a relationship with their mom and they walked in and first thing they did was cuss in front of their mom, you're going to be like,
oh my.
Yeah.
Hey, brother, I left something in the car. But same way.
Because I don't want to be here when she smack you upside your head.
Yeah, I
ain't see it. I ain't see it.
I'm not vouching for this.
Talk my way out.
Same way with that person's relationship with God. Like, you're asking the question, do you pray? When do you give your life to Christ? Like, all of those things should say the foundation of this person that I'm about to grow closer with has to be solid. And so that's just my thought. I'm getting real preachy over here. Go ahead.
I would say that exactly, that's why I wanted you to go first, because I knew you would have a really good answer. I would say for me, godly dating, first of all, we've done, this is why I appreciate this conversation, because I want to have this conversation again and again and again and again and again in different forums, because as a church, as a Big C church, we have not done a good job in helping people understand what it actually looks like. It's either we make it all about sex, we make it all about lust, all about lust, all about sex. We make relationships with the opposite sex all about sex.
Awkward.
Yeah. And as long as you ain't having sex, that's a good relationship. When there's so much more to male-female relationships. And so just piggybacking off of that, taking that line of thinking of godly dating looks like understanding what's my role in a relationship with the opposite sex? Who am I as a woman? Who am I as a man? And what does healthy interaction with the opposite sex look like outside of romance? Having a framework for what that looks like. And I would just throw a commercial in there for this book that is really, really good along this line of thinking. Warrior of Eden by Beth Guckenberger. Fantastic book, especially for women. It's a biblical lens of womanhood and what God calls us when He first calls us women in Genesis, what that actually means, and unpacking that. And its relationship to men. Anyway, I feel like you have to have a healthy framework for what does healthy relationships look like. What does a healthy godly relationship look like in general? And then who am I as a woman? Who does God say that I am as a woman? Who does God say that I am as a man? And you're always coming, I'm not saying that, you're just so sure of yourself, like, what I mean? Like you have all the answers, but having a sense of that. And the other thing is, so I'm going to say that. I was also going to say, clarity is kindness. And so when I think about godly dating, I think about leaving deception and games behind, because that's what the world does. Mm-hmm. The world deceives. The world plays games. The world be having you out here looking crazy and having to guess and be ambiguous. If I'm out here dating just to get to know people and just to get to know kind of like, well, what do I like and what am I interested in, then that needs to be the front-facing conversation. If I'm out here and I'm looking for it, like I'm ready to be in a place to receive a spouse if the Lord would send it, then that needs to be at the forefront of the conversation. And the older you get, I feel like the easier it is to have those conversations, because as as a younger 20-something, you still kind of maybe unsure of yourself. You're not as confident. You don't want to scare a person away. But clarity is kindness. Like Jesus never, when He was speaking with the disciples and the people that He loved, people tried to make it seem like He was unclear, but He was very clear with like, this is what's going to happen. This is why I'm here. This is what this is what I'm doing. This is who God is. Like He was very, very clear with him. There was never a time where, I don't want to say never, because somebody can obviously, you can go to a scripture right now and be like, well, what did He mean when He said that? That seemed kind of confusing. But what I'm getting at is that Jesus did not go into conversations with those that He loved, with the disciples or with the Pharisees, whoever He was talking to, with intentionally concealing for the purpose of deception. He concealed certain things because of His own safety and because of timing of the Lord, but He's not deceptive. So then when I go into godly dating, I need to be clear about where I'm at, and then when I'm entering into the relationship with the person, whatever it is, then I need to be clear with them about where we are and what this is. I think about treating the person the way Jesus would want. Like, would he deceive them? Would he play games? Would he do this kind of stuff? No, he would not. He would just be upfront and honest, and easier said than done. But that's what I think about. Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that. I feel like it is, as you get older, it is easier to have those conversations when you get into a relationship. Like, once, you and another person are like, okay, yeah, I think this could go somewhere. That's where you need to be like, okay, well, what are you looking for? Are you looking for just, someone to talk to? Because I can be your friend if that's the case. Are you looking for someone to be your spouse? Because if that's the case, then we need to build to that, So it just depends on where you want the relationship to go.
Yeah.
And that's where, we can take it, So, yeah.
Go ahead, James. I'm sorry.
No, I don't have nothing. I don't be in a relationship like that. I have to clear. Like, literally, I'm just here to learn, because for me, I know what be going on, because with people my age, the relationship thing, that's like a big thing.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, man, I have to be real clear with how I talk to the opposite sex, because me just being how I normally am, sometimes it's like, oh man, he might like me. No, ma'am. I'm just being friendly. You know what I'm saying?
And that's a good point.
Like, I have to be real. Like even with females, like when I like I'll use words that I use when I'm talking to my homie, like, hey bro, how you doing? Or like, you know what I'm saying? Or hey, you the homie for real, or something like that. Not trying to like de-womanize them, but like I'm setting a clear boundary in a way that I know how. I'm sure there's a better way, I'm sure. But you know what I'm saying, in a way that I know how, that's like, look, you know what I'm saying? I'm cool, but we could be friends though. Because I understand that that's how that works. Yeah. And then on top of that, I come to school with a fresh haircut, nice shoes. I look good. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I get it, but.
And that goes back to what I was talking about, healthy relationship. Now, of course, teenage world is like kind of a different ball game, because it's just a different ball game. You're not yet in adulthood, so there's just a lot of hormonal things still happening. There's a lot still happening. Jameson, you a little different because you are more mature, but you know what I'm saying, it's a little bit different in teenage world. But that goes exactly what I'm saying. A healthy relationship, if I don't know that a healthy man of God being a friend to me looks like him helping me, you can speak to that too, looks like him helping me, looks like him making sure I'm good, then I'm automatically going to take that as romance, because I don't understand that healthy male-female relationships of the opposite sex in the kingdom of God look like serving one another. Right. So if I don't know that, then I get my stuff all mixed up. Now, I'm not saying that you can't discern if that, you know what I'm saying, like if they, maybe the serving is really what God wants because he's trying to put something together, then okay, then let it be what it is. But that, to my point, when you don't know what health looks like, health comes along and you think it's romance. And so now you're trying to immediately categorize the relationship in this one way when it's something.
But I think Darian said something too. If you just got out of a relationship and you already kind of dealing with some stuff, and you serving somebody, and yet they start feeling you, and you just hop into another situation, already you done set yourself up for failure. It don't matter whether that person love God and you think, now this is gonna be different because she loved God. But in you, there's still some hurt and there's trust that's broken. So you're trying to enter into a godly relationship with all your issues hanging on top of it. So I'm getting into y'all questions.
My fault. Yeah, it's a flow. It's a flow. It's a flow. Okay. It is a flow. You are absolutely fine.
You want to do the next one?
Yeah. So the next one is, what struggles did you experience while dating? And what were some boundaries that needed to be established?
I think in most relationships, and ours ain't unique, but self-control is always going to be the thing that kind of hangs at the front door of everybody's relationship. And you always have to set those boundaries of what does that look, because you got to have self-control. So it ain't just like recognizing that it's there and man, I'm trying to figure out you got to set boundaries. So us setting boundaries look like, hey, I'm going over here. We had 2 different places. So I was at my place, she was at her place. Now we were intentional. We wanted to make sure that we had time together, but at the end of the night, I'm going home, she's going home. And so we made sure that there was that boundary there, and we stayed there until after we got married, man. So we were in those separate places, and we respected one another's boundaries. I understood that I didn't want to be a hindrance to her relationship with the Lord. She didn't want to be that to mine. And so therefore, when that understanding is there, then it doesn't allow for that little question mark of how far would we go, and all that type of stuff, because we already know that there's a boundary neither one of us are going to cross,
right?
And so that respect and that reverence for her, and to me, number one, I didn't want to come across as somebody that seemed genuine and somebody that seemed trustworthy, and I feel like that's a revealing part of who you are when you does cross that, because you're just dating, and yet you cross that boundary. So in my mind, I'm just like, I thought you trusted her, or I thought you cared for her enough to protect her in that time, even when you didn't have to. But you took it to protect her because you knew what you were called to.
Yeah.
And so looking at that from that angle kind of really helped me to be in this relationship, knowing that I have to use self-control, but this thing was forming me into the image of Christ and preparing me to be a better husband for the future and not just for right now.
Yeah. So what I hear is even when you were engaged, you were still practicing those boundaries. You still had those boundaries.
100%.
Because I think our generation in the world today, we think, oh, we're engaged, we can move in now.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you paused right there to talk about that, and maybe you were going to bring it up later, but it's just very interesting to me that the idea of, number one, celibacy, and number two, cohabitation feels so ancient and out of touch and old school, because even to Christians, because it feels like, well, like that's very antiquated. Like, we're able to live with each other and, not do this, and we're able to have self-control and not do that, and that's just the way everybody else used to do it and everything like that. But there's just that one thing that you learn as you get older, which again, you don't have to make the mistake if somebody's telling you now. So I'm telling you now that one thing that you learn as you get older is there are some things that some good practices that are just good practices. I don't care how advanced or up to date or new school we think in the faith, because that's what we do. We automatically think back. There's like studies on this, how modern societies will look back, that we automatically look back at previous generations and their practices, and we immediately downplay it like it's not as smart, not as important, that it's not good. And you have to watch that, because there are some things that just work. Yeah. And one of the things that just works in keeping healthy boundaries and purity in a relationship is not living together before you're married. It's just, it is what it is. It feels old school. I understand that. Whatever. The other thing is that, while we're on the topic of self-control, I know it feels antiquated to not have sex before marriage, because literally everyone's doing it. I'm sure you'll get to that on the list. Yes. But so then I'll pause that and leave it there. We can pause that back. But back to the struggles. We struggled a little bit, I feel like, with self-control is always a thing because you're human. But I want to speak to self-control not in the way of sexually. I want to speak also to self-control in revealing too much too soon. Intimacy is not just sex. So okay, we're dating and we're connecting with each other. You're not, even if I see you in that role and I see that it could be going that place, you're not my spouse yet. So it's understanding that place. I'm not going to, so I feel like as a woman, like ascribing husband duties and husband relational
to somebody you're talking to.
Husband relational responsibility, or emotional responsibility. That's what I meant to say. Emotional responsibility. Ascribing husband things to someone who's not my husband.
Yeah.
Is can be challenging, especially if you love the person. You know you're getting ready to marry them. Like there are certain things. There are certain parts of my heart, pieces of my soul, vulnerabilities, things of my past. There are treasures that only me and God have between us that you're not privy to until we cross this, until we get in this commitment. There are certain things that you, and we can get into kind of the things I'm talking about, but like self-control is not just sexual. It's not revealing too much of yourself or too much of your soul to a person who has not yet said, I'm committing my life to you.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that was maybe a struggle. Also, because we were both in ministry together, we kept our relationship very extremely private until we got engaged. So even just doing regular stuff with couples or just being out and about, we didn't do that stuff. And that's what I would say a struggle / something I would change if I could go back would be, and I'm sure we'll speak to this later as well, is community. Because we chose to keep things so private, the community was not as involved as I would have liked, or I think would have been healthy for us. And that's something I would go back and change.
You know what?
He always disagrees with me of this.
I say that because
always, but I would say that
because for me personally, I needed to be in a position where when things were tough or whatever, like I needed to just have her. Yeah. Like I didn't want to have such a big community that I don't go to her or I go to her last. Mm-hmm. So I'm just like, I need to be able to be like, well, dang, I guess we finna sit here. I don't know nobody to call yet, and I haven't built such a tight net dependency relationship with this community that I'm calling them every time something happens, rather than saying, let's sit in this awkwardness for a little bit and then we talking again, because it's been me and you from the jump. So there's an aspect of our relationship that did this, and we began to gel together, and we started sticking together to where when we looked around and it was just us.
But I'm talking about in dating though. You're more so talking about early marriage. I'm talking about dating. In dating, because we were so private.
We didn't have a lot of people our age too.
We didn't have a lot of people our age, but I would probably bring along a couple other people on the journey, because that's gonna be my suggestion to anybody else. That's gonna be part of my.
I think it was interesting too, because we were in two different places, and so you were there, you were there. So,
but those were kind of the struggles and the boundaries that, you know, I had to decide what I was going to reveal, and of course the regular, you know, you leave at this time, you leave at that time, kind of thing. But
yeah, that's good. When going back to the self-control piece, I was thinking about moving. When I was, you know, in the process of moving, me and my boyfriend were thinking about moving in together. And I was like, okay, well, you're in St. Louis, I'm over here. Like, we got to find somewhere in the middle. Because I didn't want to be too close, you know, too far away from my job to where I would have to, you know, commute 30, 40 minutes. And he didn't want to be away from his family. So we were thinking about it, and I was like, it's the time crunch, y'all. Like, let's get it going. And the Lord was like, don't move in with him. And I was like, okay. And I didn't know why. I didn't know, you know. And so I told him, I said, hey, maybe let's pause on this. You know, I do want to live on my own, just to see how it is with paying bills and, you know, just being by myself, because I've always lived with someone.
Yeah.
You know, this is my first time moving out and being on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, give me a few years, give me 2 or 3 years, and we can revisit this. And he said, okay, that's perfectly fine. I kid you not, a month after moving into this place, the Lord was like, you have no self-control. And I was like, wow, what if I did not obey? What if I said, okay, Lord, I hear what you're saying, but the way my money is set up, I can't live
it's the convenience, right? Like economically, sometimes it feels like the better decision. So what you're gonna put first,
right? He was like, "Do you not trust me? Do you not trust that I will provide all your needs?" And I was like, "All right, Lord, I trust you." And so it wasn't until I moved out that he was just like, "You have no self-control. Let's work on this, because this you can't be in a place of not having self-control when I'm trying to take you somewhere where you will need it." And so, yeah, that's just my little testimony.
Yes.
But yes, if self-control, I feel like in a relationship is probably the most important, especially in dating, and courtship, because if you don't have that, then I feel like the Lord isn't able to bless you. It wasn't until I obeyed that I found a place.
Yeah.
So it actually wasn't until I obeyed and started the podcast with you that I found this place. Yep.
Really?
So I obeyed.
Oh wow.
In different,
different ways. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yes. So we're gonna shift gears and go into like talking about lust in relationship. So how does lust come into play within a godly courtship, and how is that dealt with individually and collectively?
You go ahead, man. I answered the last one first.
You did.
Yeah.
How does lust come into play? Well, you think about lust, there's more than just sexual lust. Lust of the eyes, lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. So we're dealing with this uncontrollable desire to, or not uncontrollable, we're dealing this very strong desire to acquire something that we think is going to give us what we can only get from God. That's how I would define it. And so the role that it plays is that's just it's a part of the human condition and human temptation. So in anything, we relegate lust to relationships, but boyfriend, girlfriend, relationships, but lust can be, I can have lust in my job. I can lust over things that other people have. I can be wanting something so bad. I want this promotion so bad, or I want this accolade so bad that I just go after it. Because again, it's this insatiable appetite and desire to get something that I can only get from God. And so in that, but taking it back to the relationship. So then when I start to feel myself, we'll talk about sexually. If lust is an issue for me, then I need to be thinking about, aside from the human condition, because the Lord created us to have desires for one another. Like, that's the beauty of humanity, and it came from God. And so, aside from that, is there intimacy that I'm seeking from the other person that only God can give me, is my question. I'm asking myself that question. I'm asking myself, like, now that I'm in this and it's right in front of me, what is it that, how is dissatisfaction playing a role? And then aside from that, you are human and you have desires, and so you have to deal with that. And it's hard. And nobody is saying that part is easy, but he is designed for specifically. I'm assuming that you're kind of leaning in the sexual direction. Yeah. With lust, he designed sex to be most fully enjoyed in the context of marriage. And if we're just keeping it a buck on the podcast, or we keeping it a buck on the podcast?
We definitely are.
If we keeping it a buck, as a person who did not come into we were celibate coming into our marriage. We were celibate while we were dating and up into marriage, right? But previous to that, I was not. And as a person who had sex before marriage, not with him, but as a person who had sex before marriage, there is zero comparison. There's no comparison.
Little
Okay.
sidebar.
There's right. So without going too deep and getting too explicit, you know, like it's just not worth it. Like he made it to be enjoyed within this particular context in this particular way. And so, yeah, individually, I think that there's a discipline that you have to have with the Lord, or it comes out of your relationship. However, God deals with things with you, and then collectively, like we were talking about earlier, the boundaries that have to be made and clear communication about it. Like, if we are set up to kick it at the house, and that's the activity for the week or the weekend, and I know I've been feeling the type of way all week, then you know I'll be trying to keep it well. I just ain't gonna say nothing, and if something go down, then it, you know, it is what it is. I'm gonna just let it flow what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you know, as soon as you open up your mouth and you shed light on it, then you're gonna be held accountable. I would say be open. I'd be like, hey bro, I ain't gonna lie to you. I can't even do it today. I just can't. We can't be alone on today. Just based on how I'm feeling. Collectively, I feel like it's transparency and honesty. Right? Like,
Don't say that. I'm with that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and not be trying to, because you know how we'll do. That's why we don't be telling people what we're struggling with, because we don't want no accountability. And we just want to be able to do it and just act like, oh, how did that happen?
Yeah.
It happened because you've been processing this thought for 3 days. And then the person came over, and now all of a sudden you're surprised that you on the bed. Get out of here. Like, come on. You know. And I don't care how saved you are.
I'm victim to that.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's just like, well, I ain't gonna say nothing. That's just between me and God. Don't nobody, accountability partners, we didn't even know about that. So come on, I've been talking a lot, but accountability partners for sure. Like that person that's like, okay, I'm heading over such and so house. Again, feels old school, feels antiquated, but some things just work.
You know what? I had accountability partners. I didn't have an accountability partner after 9. That's the issue. That was the real issue. Because I had them. They was in my life. It was just at a certain time.
You didn't call me. Right. You didn't text me.
Hey, bro, where you at? Man, I ain't even get your call, bro. You got my call, bro. You just was looking at me.
You got my call.
You didn't answer. You done got hypnotized. That's what it was.
Hypnotized.
But I would say this. So when I think about lust in that context, in Genesis 3, it says that when Eve saw the fruit, she saw that it was good. She saw it. It looked good. It was pleasing to the eye. That was the first thing.
Yeah.
There was nothing wrong with it being pleasing to the eye. The part that was wrong is that it was a desire there.
Yeah.
That's the part, the word that I want you to catch, because that's the thing that drew her.
Yeah.
So it wasn't enough for it to look good. She had to have it.
Yeah.
That's the part that when lust starts to play a role in there, and you're with somebody, it's good. You're with that person because you are attracted to.
Right.
Pleasing to the eye.
Yeah.
The issue is that you go beyond it just being pleasing to the eye to the desire.
To
and it
reach
was,
into acting on
to
that.
reach when we see her desire, the very next thing we see her do is reach and grab it and eat it. That's what we should see when it comes to lust. There's no way for somebody to be in a lustful situation and you think they don't want to act on it. Right. They're either they want to or they're going to.
Yeah.
That's the only other way that this is going to happen.
Right.
And this is just the Lord showing us this from the very beginning. There is no way to be in a situation where lust has now become the driver of your emotions and your flesh and your thoughts, and you not continue to just drive all the way off the cliff.
Yeah.
So I say all that to say, that is the part where you now have to say, what could she have done to avoid taking the fruit and actually eating it?
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the self-control part comes in, and that's where the part we're talking about. If I'm lusting, then recognizing where she is, there's, again, accountability partners. Adam's right there, like, so how could this have been avoided?
And her obedience.
Yeah.
So she was never supposed to be at the tree in the first place.
She's too close
so
anyway.
Something
too close.
She's
she
too
was
close
too close
anyway.
in the first place.
So
something caught her eye well before she...
Come on now. Let's just keep it a buck.
That's
So
good.
she went looking for it.
She
That's
searched
good.
for it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Now here's the thing, Darian. You can eat from all the trees in the garden.
Except for this one.
What do you help me understand how you ended up over here? Out of all these trees.
Yeah.
That's like the Lord saying, you can go to all the Starbucks in the world. Just don't go to the one in O'Fallon. Why are you at the one in O'Fallon? Why? Why?
You're not just looking like Monopoly.
You shouldn't be at the nail shop next to it.
Why? What you playing?
Exactly.
You playing right now? Like, come on, bro. You play.
But going back to the definition, getting an insatiable appetite, he tempted her for something that she could only get from God.
Yeah.
He's talking about. You good, bro?
Yeah, I'm good.
I don't know if that's gonna block my voice.
I-
You know what I'm saying? Cause
No, you good. You
Is it
good.
gonna block my voice?
Nah,
Okay,
you
cool.
good, you good.
He was like, you'll know the difference between good and evil. What did he say? Did God really say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I doubt that God can give me what I need. So
Right.
then my appetite is to get something.
And
else
it's
to fulfill it.
that question when you're talking about lust. It's that question that tends to let folks go over the edge.
Yeah.
Because we start to rationalize. Well, he did say we can. He didn't say nothing about kissing. So then we go to the next one. Well, he didn't say we
my
couldn't be
gosh.
in the bed. So we start to
The
try.
line by line
We
rationalization.
literally take.
We've all been there
We
before.
literally start to tell ourselves, "Did God really say?"
And the
Like-
next thing you know, you actually doing what
Yeah.
God told you
So
not
we
to
done
do.
had a whole conversation within ourselves of, well, did God really say? Well, he didn't actually say this.
Yeah.
Okay, so as long as I don't do that and stay here. So that's how we end up in a position where we went further than we expected to go from the beginning.
Yeah.
But it all started with us looking at something in a way. Now we live in a world where pornography has perverted everything
Yeah.
and of course sex before marriage, like all these different things have already distorted the fruit that we look at. So we're not even looking at it saying it's good to look at.
Yeah.
We automatically skip what's good to look at and think of and start to go straight to desire. So we attach something that should just be good to look at and we attach it to our desires, and it's no longer just good to look at, it's desirable now.
Right.
That's all it is.
Yeah. And I feel like you as a person, you should know what's gonna set you off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
come on.
if kissing is gonna set me off, then we don't need to be doing
Yeah.
this.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if I touch you in a certain spot,
We good.
Or if
Yeah.
I say certain things and all
Right.
that joking and stuff like that, like all of that, you know what I mean? You know, what if situations, joking and, carrying on, we be doing like
Yeah.
shut
Yeah.
it down. But you know what I was thinking too, like this is the part where, cause again, we know that sex outside of marriage, even for Christians, feels like abstinence feels so
Yeah.
antiquated.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's the thing: you have to ask yourself, do I trust the person, the God that created me, to know what is good for me and what is not good for me?
Yeah.
Whose voice do you trust the most?
Yeah.
Because the narrative of you're just a human and this is a human desire and you shouldn't be depriving yourself of human desire is so strong and easy to believe.
Yeah.
There are so many easy to adopt narratives that sound a lot like God, but it's not God.
Yeah.
It's deception. And so you have to ask yourself, like, who knows what's best for this body and what's best for what is created, the creator or the created?
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
created would say, I need to act on every beastly impulse that I have in order to fulfill these desires. But the creator has told me that this desire is best in this particular context. So it's honestly a question of, if I was to take it up 10,000 feet, whose voice do I trust the most?
yeah.
Do I trust that God knows what's best for humanity?
And even on that line, so I think about if we're trying to distinguish this lust part, how this plays a part and how it affects us in our relationships, if we're looking at the way that God established things, God makes all these creatures and animals, and then God makes man in his image.
Yeah.
As if to already say, you're different from this creation.
Yes.
These are animals,
Get into it.
these are human beings.
Yeah.
So if you look at the way that an animal responds to things, there's an impulse.
Yep.
They see a deer, they go attack the deer. They're not sitting there thinking, will it hurt them? What about the family? They're not doing that. Their impulse is to act on it. So when God sees a human being, he's saying, you're not this.
You are not
your
like
impulse, I don't want you to be impulsive. When you see something, a woman, a man, and you just act on it, you're acting like that. The animals. I did not make you beastly.
I did not make you
Right.
human dignity.
This is why sin and this is why lust, it feels animalistic. That's why there's, man, I just want to, like, that's animalistic. So,
and I can't control it.
Yeah.
I just have to, and I just have to.
Yeah.
That's the beastly behavior. That's not.
I never correlated that.
So that's the part where you have, that's why the self-control is so important. Because God already establishes, I'm going to make you like me. I have self-control. That's why you're in my image. So you should be responding to things like me. But you respond to things like them. And that's strange. Because I didn't make you like them. I made you like them. And I believe that it's Satan's job is to say, you're actually more like them than you think. And when we start to counsel that thought and that voice, we start to act like it.
Because what it's doing is it's minimizing the imago Dei. And that's his whole job. God breathed into us. We are like him. We are created in his image. When he gets us to obey the beastly impulse, the animalistic impulse that takes away the image of Godness in me, and now I lower myself down to something that I was never meant to be.
You no longer look like him. You look like them. And we tend to, it's so weird that the culture we are now, like this lustful desire, this impulse, we get applauded for it. Gucci had a song out, I'm a dog, I'm a dog, I'm a dog, I'm a dog. I'm a treat her like a dog. I'm talking about, Daria, I'm like,
I wasn't going to say nothing.
I'm in there. I'm a dog, I'm a dog. Like, I'm with it. I'm with the song. And it's so like, oh, this is cool. It's cool to have these animal instincts and treat others like they are. Like, that's crazy. But that's why the whole renewing of your mind, we in a whole different topic. But we gonna get there. Let's get it.
You good. You good. Because I do believe that it may not necessarily pertain to relationships, but it's like, individually. And that's what we were talking about in the other podcast when it came to like secular music and TV and things of that nature, because if you're constantly involved or watching it, or listening to it, like you said, that song, then that's going to get in your spirit. And that's going to make you want to, go into that lustful desire and act on that.
You are what you contemplate.
So that was, I feel like we answered
we
answered these two.
We answered all.
So we're gonna go into marriage now. So more
okay. Gotcha.
We graduated. Okay.
So, what were the struggles of dating that
carried over
into marriage?
I wouldn't say, to be honest with you, I don't feel like there was a lot of dating struggles. I think the part outside of what we mentioned, if I can think about it, there was a little bit of communication. That aspect was huge. I'm not necessarily the biggest, conversator. I don't like to talk along and things like that. So getting into marriage is just like, bro, y'all got to talk now. Like, where you going? Why are you asking me where I'm going? I just came from a world of independence. I can leave when I want to leave. Now I got to tell you I'm getting ready to leave. Like, that's weird.
That's going to be the part for me.
So those are the things I'm thinking about when I'm thinking about the struggles. I'm like, it's really more so communication, because it was having to adjust. Your individual life has now been weaved with this person's life, and you can't just leave and go do this without this person knowing. And awkward because there's an immediate worry that comes into play now.
Yeah.
So now I'm not just like, oh, Darian just left and she went over here. Now it's like, where's she going and why is she back? Like, you okay? Like all of those parts come with it, and you didn't know that until you got into this commitment. So now there's a aspect of you gone than just you individually.
Yeah.
Like now that part of me is gone. I think even more over time, like as you grow in your marriage, like, and you start to relinquish part of your life over to that person and that person to you,
It becomes easier.
it's even and but that part is easier, but then the strain part is scary because now you're like, what if she doesn't come back? Like, you scared now.
Yeah.
Because you like, she a part of me now. So I say all that to say the struggles were communication, which over time that grows and gets better. But you got to think, you got 20-something years of communicating how you want to. Yeah. You got 17 years of communicating how you want to. You don't just get married and then start communicating great.
Yeah.
Bro, I've been talking like this for 17 years.
Right.
I can't automatically switch that off. I can get better, and I'm more considerate now because I love you.
Yeah.
So now I'm not just going to be like, that ain't a big deal. Now I'm just like, all right. Like, all of you done had to swell up and go down just because you're like, I know I want to say it ain't that big deal. That's how I'm thinking, but it probably ain't. So, you know what? You got it. Like, you minimize it. So, all that to say that the struggle for us was probably more communication.
Okay. I would say the same. I have nothing to add to that. Communication before, communication now. We were really compatible. Really compatible. We did premarital counseling twice. So, you know, the one that we did was a faith-based, research-based system. So we were able to see kind of the areas of compatibility, and so we, on paper, like, matched up pretty well. So I say that to say we don't naturally have a lot of conflict.
Yeah.
But when we do, it's mostly on communication.
Yeah.
So you brought up something that we don't have on here that I probably should have put on here. Premarital counseling.
Yeah, we didn't think about that. Go ahead.
Right, we didn't. I don't know why we didn't. But what are your thoughts on that? Because I know, you know, this day and age, like, it's very, you know, we're like, we're good, you know, we don't need all that, you know. First off, what does premarital counseling help with? And how do you feel as though it has benefited your marriage?
Counseling is about revealing, and it's about tools.
Yep.
So premarital counseling is going to reveal the things that because of your love blindness you haven't seen or considered, and it's going to give you the tools to navigate marital struggles and issues. It should be those two things. I think healthy premarital counseling should be a revealer, and it should be an equipper. And if it's not doing those two things, then you know, it's just like we're just having a good conversation. I know a lot of people think when it comes to premarital counseling that 2 or 3 conversations with their pastor is sufficient. I would say no. I'm a purist when it comes to this kind of thing, because I'm like, I've honestly seen, now that we've been in the game for a while, I have seen where our intentionality in premarital counseling helped us, while other married peoples that I know who did not have sufficient premarital counseling have struggles in ways that I don't know if they would have if there were certain things that they would have worked out in premarital counseling. Right. It doesn't keep you from having problems. It doesn't keep things from being hard, but it gives you a revealer, and it gives you tools. You know, a lot of times there may be things, because especially as women, well, I can't speak to men, as women, there may be something about that dude that is a red flag, but because you are just so swooned that you've not acknowledged it before, you've not really seen it, or you've played it off as less than it is.
Yeah.
Premarital counseling will open up that book and say, read this part. What about this thing? And hit that button in that salt in that wound.
Yeah.
And that's what you want beforehand, to be able to see those things beforehand, to be able to work those things. Man, I didn't know you were so selfish, or oh wow, I thought we talked about kids. I thought you really wanted them, but turns out when it all boils down, turns out you really don't. Like that's major stuff, right?
Yeah.
So like that's what I would say. It's a revealer and it's an equipper. And so the tools like active listening that we learned, like how do you actually in an argument, how do you actually repeat what the person is saying, hear what they're saying, and come to a place of conflict resolution when you're having an argument. Though that's a tool we learned in premarital counseling. Or how do we both deal with money? That was a tool we learned in premarital counseling. So we use a program called Prepare and Enrich, which we are certified in, by the way.
Just a little something.
Yes. And so Prepare and Enrich is basically a faith-based, research-based system that has taken, 9? I can't remember, 8 or 9. I could be wrong about this. Common marriage issues. Like, all in all, of all the things that people struggle in marriage, is these sets of things that people struggle in the most. Like sex, money, family relationships, children, religion, all these things. And it takes them and it causes you, after you kind of both take a test, to explore your differences in these various common areas and explore those differences, and then give you tools to help you in the marriage when something in that area gets to be a challenge. So that's what it was for us. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10.
Me too.
Shout that out again.
What was the
Prepare and Enrich. I think they have so it's nationally known. So you can go to their website, Prepare and Enrich, and they I think they show you who in your area is certified. Yeah. But we have a certification as well as other couples in our church. So
okay.
That's good.
We'll definitely be hitting y'all up.
Prepare and Enrich. Yes, we did counseling before we got engaged and after we got engaged. So we knew kind of before we got engaged where the relationship was going, and so you can do a program that's pre-engagement and post-engagement. So if you just in a serious relationship that you think might be going in that direction, you can take it. And then when you get engaged, you do it again now with the lens of we are getting married, this is our path kind of thing. So we did it twice.
Okay. I didn't know you could do premarital counseling even in the dating stage.
Yeah.
With this particular program you can.
Gotcha. Okay. So what was the biggest surprise once you got married?
Go ahead.
I just started laughing because I talked a lot in the last time.
You did.
You go ahead.
So couple things. I would say number one, most people think because you've married somebody and y'all just compatible, oh, this is good. The reality is you almost have to learn this person every day.
Yeah.
So you haven't been, I don't know what she gonna be like. What's tomorrow? Sunday? She may have a different Sunday. So I have to adjust to that every day. That was something I didn't think. I thought there was just an even keel. I'm seeing a lot of old marriages. I'm just like, oh, okay, so they done gotten together, grandma, granddad, they just kind of then hit this plateau where they just know each other. I thought that was that. You
thought you came into the stride.
Yeah, I thought I was
you thought you came in.
Yeah,
I did it.
I'm talking about very on. It's to the point where it's like,
look, I did it. That's it.
It's to the point where I'm like, maybe if I just keep giving the same order, she'll get my order.
Yeah.
So whenever we go out to eat at this restaurant, I don't have to say, hey, bro, give me a cheeseburger. You already know what I'm going to get. I didn't know that y'all change y'all minds every now. I didn't know that. I thought you wanted the same thing.
We're still navigating that.
So I got the same thing, thinking you wanted the same cheeseburger with bacon on it. I actually wanted a salad today. So you've been getting the same cheeseburger for 6 weeks, and now you want to make this make sense to me.
It's a Tuesday, and I feel different today.
I thought I hit a stride. I thought I was in the stride. So
I was in the
I was in the zone.
I feel like you had a value because you used to say this to me a lot. I feel like you had a value.
Let me turn this way.
Yeah. I feel like you had a value of us knowing each other. Like you was really like you was super hyped for that. Like you was like, I just want to get to the place where I can predict you, and I'm like, you'll never get there. Like I know, you know what I'm saying? Like you can get to the place where you know me, but as a woman, I ain't got to tell y'all know how it is. It's just like I know for like 79 times in a row I've wanted a caramel macchiato, and the 80th time I want a matcha latte because I just do.
See?
And you can't assume that I want a caramel macchiato.
See what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? So yeah. What was it? What was the question?
What was the biggest surprise?
Oh, the biggest surprise. One of my big surprises was, I tell this one all the time. Travis used to always talk so much about, because when he would be roommates with these other guys, he would be talking so much about how he was like the dad of the group and like how he, you know what I'm saying, had to clean up after people and whatever. So then this whole time I got anxiety because I'm like, bro, finna come in here in this marriage and he finna be so neat and oh my gosh, like whatever. And then we got married and I was like, that you ain't like that. He's not sloppy by any means, but I'm like, bro, I thought you made it sound like you was really like a neat freak and you just like me. Your clothes on the floor just like mine. Like I remember being so swindled. Like I was just like, bro, you really made it seem like you was up here like you wanted everything so crispy to the point where I was getting ready. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna depend on bro because he's gonna keep everything clean. Like, you know what I'm saying? We got up in there and I'm like, does this man coffee cups in there from 2 days ago? I thought he was neat. Like, I was so surprised. I was so shocked.
You left it in the dishwasher for 2 days?
The definition of cleanliness is, I wanted things to be in order, but when things look out of order, that's when I'm just, like a coffee cup's in there, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But 8 coffee cups in there, now you nasty. That's a problem. Now at this point, I want to burn the house up because y'all know better than this. Yeah.
That's when have roaches in there.
Come on, bro.
I was also surprised about how extreme of an introvert he was. I always knew that he was, but I would be so like, I really had to get comfortable with this because bro, we would be places and bro wouldn't talk. Everybody like, is your new husband okay? Like, I'm just like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? He wouldn't talk. I'm like, have a conversation. Like, so I was surprised at how extreme introvert he was. And a lot of people think Travis is an extrovert because he's funny and he's charismatic. But this man is finna go home after this podcast and disappear.
Listen,
and not talk to me for the rest of the night.
I hate that I'm like this, but I'm just like, look, I can be extroverted from like maybe like 1 to like 3 o'clock.
You're not extroverted at all. That
I'm
means
just
you
like,
get your energy.
No, that means if Darian and them saying, hey, can you come over? That means that's when I'm finna be extrovert.
Yeah.
No.
After that,
it's a wrap.
That's it. So I got to turn that off. But I charged my battery to get me through this conversation type of deal. But outside of that,
I was surprised by extroverted. Were you surprised at any introverted? Or were you surprised at any of my habits or anything that like anything about personality? I'm just curious now.
I wasn't gonna say I wasn't surprised because that's a little cocky. I knew it was coming. No, I did. But it was just me adjusting to. I thought you were just kind of gonna do your thing and this and that, but I think I was more surprised by your intentionality because I was just kind of expecting, to cook my own stuff and do all that. Not that you didn't, but it was just kind of like I knew that we both busy. So sometimes hey, can you just go grab something while you out, or I went and bought you this, but it was just like, no, I'm cooking something. I'm like, I can cook my own. No, I'm good. Hey, what's going on, bro? I said I can cook my own rice. So it's just like I was surprised by the intentionality I was there because I've operated in my own little silo.
Yeah.
So,
and intentionality is a good word because I wasn't trying to be on no, I have to cook my man meals.
I know you weren't.
Like, because women be like that. That's not how it was.
Yeah.
I genuinely enjoy serving him in that way, so that's why I did it.
Yeah.
So.
And if y'all ever get
why we on that, Pastor Moore? I heard that you are an fine cook.
You know what?
Good
Her
Listen.
tacos.
I
Like,
heard
it's not
Fam.
just, you know
Fam.
how when you get, like,
How
when you
you-
make home tacos and you used to be like, you know what, I'm gonna whip this up real quick. Y'all got y'all cheese, y'all got y'all pico de gallo. No, it's like she takes tacos to the next level. It's meat, it's like, it's steak, chicken. If you want the vegan tacos, she's making her own pico de gallo and
This mug.
guacamole.
Yes.
This
And
mug,
is-
this mug,
And
this
And
mug
shredding her own cheese.
this mug gourmet ramen. You made ramen look gourmet, bro. You like,
We
oh,
did
this
have it.
fire. Oh.
Yeah.
It was,
It was.
delicious.
Crazy.
So
I
good.
Need, I need
Crazy.
to try some. I need to try some.
Yes, you're
But
welcome anytime. You're welcome the next time we have dinner.
Cool.
To
Cool.
come over and do that
Cool.
with everybody
Yes.
for sure.
So going into the next question, I know what it's like to have my personal time with the Lord, and just to be off to myself, you
This is
know,
a good question.
and
Such a
to
good
be
question.
deep in His presence by myself.
Yeah.
But what does your time with the Lord look like now that you are married?
You know what? You know, and babe, don't mind me saying this. I think we've grown, and that's what I say. Just in the whole marriage aspect, you get this marriage platter, and you have to eat things one at a time. You don't get to scoop it and eat it all. So we're looking at the plate that the Lord has given us, and we're like, man, work on this together. So let's get better at communication. Now we can eat this, finances. Now we can work. So like each one of these little pieces, we've had to take and eat it one by one.
Yeah.
There's still things on our platter in terms of us, praying together more. We pray together, but we praying together more, and we pray for each other. Individually, we have our relationship with the Lord, and we talk about the scriptures together and things like that. And but I think that there's always room to grow in that area, and I just know that I look at who we are individually in our journeys with the Lord, and if we spent more time, like we spend time, but if we spend more time together investing in that, it would be a whole different situation. It would be a real problem. So it's already a problem individually when we come together.
Yeah.
But if we just stayed together and did it together, then it would be that much more bigger.
That's probably one of our struggles of being one is that because I'm fine. You know what I mean? Like, and so is he with our time with the Lord. It really hasn't changed. It probably is increased in marriage just because, it's marriage. You really need the Lord, in it. So I would say my time individually has increased, but in terms of getting that time together, that's definitely something that we continue to have to work on because we have such, independence is, in marriage, independence can be the enemy.
Yeah.
And so we're not talking about some it's hard. You have to check independence. Independence can become a problem. So that's not to say that you need to be up under your person all the time. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about me having my own life, doing my own thing. Because that does happen. Like, we get busy, we got our own stuff going on, or we good. Like, it can be very much like, you know what? I feel a lot like we've just been roommates the past couple of weeks. Like, we need to connect. Because you can just live your own life. That's the thing. You can really live your own life inside of a marriage. So together, that has just looked like praying. We're not really let's do this marriage devotion type of couple because we have found that discipleship to Jesus has been our marriage cheat code. And I hate to be I hate to be super deep about that, but it is what it is. I can't point to a single book or a single devotional aside from the premarital counseling. It has been our relationships with the Lord that has sustained and grown our marriage. Period.
Yeah.
It is me wanting to be like Jesus and me holding a mirror up to myself as a wife and saying, was that like Jesus? Yes or no? No? Okay, then you have to say sorry. You know what I mean? So our together time, it looks like we don't do a devotional, but we will pray.
Yeah.
We do pray. Oh, we didn't miss it this month.
Nope.
We will pray together. He prays over me every night. Every single night he prays over me. And lays hands on me and prays over me and that kind of thing. So I know some couples be having like prayer meetings with each other and like going in and crying and stuff. Like sometimes we do, like we get on our knees and like really go before the Lord if we're really struggling. But aside from that, it's just a regular prayer rhythm that we do with one another.
This ain't in our notes, but I feel led to speak about this. We talked about a while ago, many episodes ago, we talked about spiritual warfare. What, if any, have you experienced within your marriage? Like what specific attacks or what has the enemy tried to throw up against you?
Money. Not disagreement over money, lack of money. Oh my gosh, I feel like from the very beginning, just not having enough or trying to figure out how to make ends meet can just bring about such discouragement and such, finger pointing or whatever it is. I feel like finances has been a thing that continues to be a theme in terms of spiritual warfare. Busyness, what would you say?
Yeah.
Busyness over busyness and stress.
And also, I mean, there's an aspect of like, you got to think whoever you guys are coming with, they're also coming with whatever baggage they family got. So if they mama sick and y'all are going through some things, like that's added to it. So I think too, individually, family wise, those things the enemy uses to pull us away from the closest that we would have here.
Oh my gosh.
So
yeah, my family got a lot going on. We, you know what I'm saying, like, just as a PK and all that stuff. There's just a lot that comes with ministry. So it's just it can be a lot to try to balance both. And really, it's not a balance. Like he's my first person, so leave and cleave, but. I would say the busyness, just making time for each other. It's very interesting, and I'll just say this without saying too much. It's so interesting how when you're not married, all the enemy wants you to do is try to be intimate outside of the thing of God.
Father.
When you get married, you have to fight for that intimacy. It's like you can't conceptualize it till you're actually there.
And I think the society that we live in does not understand that.
Not at all.
No. So when you get married in a godly marriage, it's like you're fighting for intimacy. You're fighting for intimacy. You're fighting for connection time. You're fighting for that time. And beforehand, it's like you can't.
You got it.
Whatever. So I would say definitely that. That too. And then your own. We didn't talk about this. Family origin, your own insecurities will come up and come out, and they'll magnify in marriage. So insecurities that I have, things that I'm not delivered from, stuff that God's still healing in me, that comes out in the way I'm acting in the marriage.
Oh yeah.
And so I have to be very self-aware of those things because the enemy will use family of origin and your own mess to wreak havoc in your marriage.
Yeah. No, I agree that because a lot of times the stuff that may even trigger you a little bit is stuff you didn't like your mama doing. So now your spouse is just showing glimpses of it, and you just like, I don't care who you are. Like you start to be like, bro, I don't care who you are. Like I don't want people to talk to me like that.
Yeah.
All that is I felt like when my mom talked about talking to me like that, I felt it was disrespectful then. So I didn't grow out of that type of deal. That still feels disrespectful to me. But again, the spouse don't know that. It's just like, bro, I was just talking, bro. Yeah. But it allows that to come to the surface. And again, that's the spiritual warfare aspect. But that's where the Lord allows that to be exposed. So now you can address that. You know what? My fault. You did say that. Like you did say it. So that's me. That's on me. So that allows for that reconciliation to be there.
Yeah.
But that adds a lot of fuel to it. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I don't know why I just felt led to like ask that because I feel like individually, as a single person, the spiritual warfare is heavy. So I can only imagine how it's going to be when two people have joined together and they're both experiencing, spiritual warfare, not just by themselves, but together.
Yes.
Now, I will say as well, if you're in a relationship, and I don't care, I don't care what process y'all have or what partnership, I feel like if you are the man of that relationship and you're not leading the charge in that warfare, that's a problem with me anyway. I already got a problem. Because you should make the family understand, first of all, your submission. Yeah. That's where I think the warfare part strengthens the family, because you're like, oh, dad's down there praying. We good. Like, that's what you should feel. Same thing with y'all. Money going on, you're in your marriage, what's going on? Babe's down there praying. We good. Like, that should bring a sense of strength and peace and comfort to you, rather than both of y'all just, man, I don't know what we're gonna do. Yeah, I don't know. Somebody got to be the somebody got to pick up the sword and say, "I'll be back." Like, so that's where I see too in the relationship of when you're warfaring, somebody got to be leading the charge, and I'm gonna take most of the blow. I'm finna do the front line work. Yeah. So you can still be in the battle, but I'm gonna slay a couple hundred of them, so that you don't wear yourself out. So that's what I think.
Yeah, that's good.
That's powerful. This is a good one. Who did you look to as a role model for a godly marriage, and why?
You already had. Who did you?
That was my
that's
parents.
A great question.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, my parents for sure. I had such a great model growing up, and I've noticed a lot of myself, a lot of my mom coming out of myself, and how I choose to wife being a verb. I wife is a verb. So definitely my parents, and I would say, right now, like inspiration before, I can't think of. I know that they're there. I was trying to think of this beforehand, but I couldn't. I will say now, Greg and Crystal, our pastors, that we had at Renew Church before we came back. I love the way they are with one another and how they navigate family and ministry and their relationship, and they've experienced some things that we've experienced as a couple. So, I love Greg and Crystal. So if y'all ever see this, we love you, Pastor Greg and Crystal.
What about you, Pastor Travis?
Right now it is Pastor Greg and Sister Crystal, but it wasn't necessarily I looked at them for godly, as a godly reflection. But at one point, my old youth pastor, when I was in youth ministry, I just thought it was unique to see two people married, and it was just like, oh, y'all together. Like, that to me was already like unique. You grew up in a black family, you used to seeing dudes and men come in and out, and your mom dating this guy, your auntie with this guy. So there was a lot of stuff going on, and marriage was a foreign concept. Yeah. We come from the background where you just live together for a long time. So you just, you like, when did grandma and grandpa get married? Or did they just stay together?
They just stayed
together. They just been together for it? Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. so that's what I saw. And I always thought marriage was more so for, Caucasian people. Like, that's something that it works. And that's where the Lord had me, watching this young man who was Caucasian, his wife and his kids, and I was like, wow, this is so strange. Like, all together, they're doing family vacations. That was just like very foreign for me. So that was the first time the Lord exposed it to me. But it wasn't until maybe I was 22, 23, I was a little bit younger, that I saw a black man and a black woman, like, in love with one another with young African American kids. I was just like, wow, this is something else. And Mr. Ricky, he was allowed me to come in his house, and it was just like a gift. The Lord gave me a gift because I saw stuff that was on TV in there. And I saw him, every night the boys would come in and before they went to bed, he's like, "Who's my favorite guys?" And they would just be like, "Me," and I'm just like, "Bro, that's dope."
Yeah,
like
that's
that's kind of dope.
That's dope.
And so he kissed them goodbye and go in there and pray with them and checks on his wife, and then he comes in the living room and hangs out with me. And I'm just like, "Bro, that's dope, bro. You just put your family to bed." It's like, "Hey, Trav," and he'll let me know, "Hey, Trav, I'll be back, bro." And I know what he's doing. So that was like super inspirational for me. And that was a gift for me. So
that's good.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, besides a piece of paper, what's the difference between dating and marriage?
definitely it's the commitment level. You go
Commitment.
it's the commitment. You don't get the get out of jail free card in marriage.
Yeah.
You about to work through this. Dating, you have the opportunity, which is why I always encourage folks, listen, if you're thinking about pursuing this person in a more intimate way, not necessarily sexual, but more so I want to know this person more deeply, I'm always saying that before y'all get into there is no commitment. So I'm already telling them this ain't your husband, this ain't your spouse, so don't put yourself in a position where you feel like I'm tying myself to this person.
Yeah.
In marriage, you this covenant that you made before God and before these witnesses, at this point it's not about you just saying, let me see how marriage is gonna work out, and then no. At this point
It's sign, seal, and deliver.
you said it, bro.
Right.
You said it. You've made this declaration, and from here on out, till death do us part is a real thing. And so I've now told myself that, well, Lord, I'm here. I made a commitment with her, and I made a commitment with you. It ain't about the people. It's more so about my commitment with her and him.
Yeah.
Those are the two things I refuse to break. And so only but death can keep me from, like, that's the only but death can separate us. So, and you know where I was going with that. So that's the only frame of reference that I would even have of just like, man, there is no out. There is no pass. It's just about us having to work through that. And that is the beauty of spiritual formation. Forming part in your marriage, That's what you don't get in dating. You are not in dating. You can still kind of customize who you become.
Yeah.
So you can still say, well, it was good being with him, but I got to get out of that.
Yeah.
In this, it's going to
in it
expose
for
you.
the long
the
haul.
person you're
Okay.
supposed to be,
It's-
or it's gonna be.
It's going to expose you.
It's gonna
So
expose you.
if the Lord been dealing with your attitude and you're in this with your spouse and y'all going at it and you got an attitude issue, either you gonna continue to be like, well, she just gonna have to accept it, or you gonna be like, my attitude hurt her,
Yeah.
or my attitude hurt him, and the Lord breaks your heart for the way your attitude has been vicious. When you be like, bro, I don't like talking, I don't like seeing him like that, I don't like seeing her like that. So you end up checking your attitude, and the Lord is forming you in the process. You don't even know it. You just be like, I just feel heartbroken for the way she looked, the way he looked when I said that.
Yeah.
That was super disrespectful. And I say I love him. No, I
Right.
can't do that. I don't like to see that. So that forming part. So that's the difference of marriage and dating for me is I've been formed in my marriage. And
Yeah.
So good.
and I feel like I look more like Jesus than I did when I was dating. I was following Jesus and I was committed to Jesus, but I wasn't being formed. Because I didn't have to to address my insecurities.
Yeah.
I didn't have to address it.
Yeah.
I could acknowledge them, but I didn't have to address them. Now I got to address them, and I have to, like, marriage makes you be like, dang, I got to take that to the Lord. Like, you got to.
And I would say an encouragement to someone who it's taking a long time, or you are single and older or whatever, that you can be formed and should be formed and will be formed outside of marriage in good community. So it's not the same. It's not the same in the sense of the intimacy that you have with another person, but good, strong community and relationships can form. So I just wanted to provide that clarity. But it's the commitment, lifelong commitment. And again, another thing that I know is a very old school idea now of like I'm reading articles about Gen Z getting married less and less, people leaving marriage less and less. Let's just be together for economic reasons, live our lives, and be together to pool our money, pool our resources, but we're just gonna go out and kind of live our lives or whatever. And there's nothing like lifelong commitment. There's nothing that it's the gospel level commitment that God wants us to be able to see. That God wants us to be able to see in person. That's what it's modeling. And so there's nothing that can replace that. And it should be a blessing to all. Now, so in other words, you don't have to. In other words, I'm careful to speak as if this is the pinnacle of discipleship and joy and fulfillment in life, because it is not. There are women that I know who are unmarried, who are serving the Lord, fulfilled, happy, got money, all the things. Like they are living lives fulfilled in the Lord, and in a practical way. Outside of marriage. So I'm careful to not elevate it to this place. But I do want to say that there's something beautiful about that lifelong commitment within the context of discipleship to Jesus that cannot be replaced. That's the difference.
And also with that, like what she's saying, like again, looking at it through a biblical lens, God's original plan was for man, woman, him to be in this relationship. So just because you're not married doesn't mean that you're not, like, he still wants that from you. He still wants the communal relationship. All this is in the context of marriage. It's a communal relationship in the context of marriage. If you're not married, he still wants the communal relationship with you. You just can't put somebody there just so that you can feel like you got something secure. That communal relationship may look like a healthy relationship with your small group. May look like a healthy relationship with a brother in Christ that I got. May look like a healthy relationship with a friend. So like, I have the communal aspect of growing and being formed. It just looks like I can go home and wake up and have to deal with my issue. In a singleness or dating situation, I may have to call Darion to say, hey, I was blah, 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 and me and such got into it. Like, was I tripping? Yeah, you was kind of tripping. So now you don't have to deal with it at that time. The Lord may deal with it later on because you have somebody in your life who's going to continue to love you, but also be like, yeah, you was kind of wrong. So now you have to, again, it ain't as intentional, but it's still an opportunity for you to grow. It's just in a different context.
So you brought up commitment, and I kind of want your take on why do you feel as though people who are dating put that commitment on the dating relationship?
That's good.
Like,
Sheesh.
Why do you feel as though we, why do we feel like the fruit of being married, why do we feel like we can have that in a dating relationship?
For the same reasons we feel like we can have everything without God. Everything. For the same reasons why we feel like we can be fulfilled outside of God and his covering. I think it's the same instinct that says I can have the benefits of the kingdom without the king. In other words, I can have fulfillment, I can have joy, I can have everything. I can be to the fullness of the way life was meant to be experienced outside of the presence of the Lord. That is literally the story of the secular world. That is the story. That's the story of the kingdom outside of earthly kingdoms. Right, exactly. So I think it's the same thing where you think that we think that we can, that there is no commitment, because that's what it is, right? It's like, it's in the same way that we won't want to commit ourselves to God and commit ourselves to what it means to follow him and what it means to sacrifice and be in this sacrificial love relationship.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the dating. You think that I can accomplish this a pseudo fulfillment outside of the sacrifice.
Yeah.
And that is a human problem, not a dating issue.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's a human issue.
Yeah.
Of I can fulfill and attain this life. I can fulfill and attain happiness and deep inner peace outside of the sacrifice of what it means to follow God. And the fact is that it's just not there. So I say that to say, I think it's a deep human propensity.
Yeah.
And I also would say
to contextualize
too,
it to dating, it's easy, right?
Yeah.
Like, we can just be in a relationship. I can ascribe all these things to you and it just works. But at the end of the day, it's not you. It's not that you want, it's just like I was talking about in this sermon of, it's useful but not unreliable. It's helpful but not like fill in the blank of whatever word. In other words, there are people who are living very fulfilling and happy lives. Move back just a little bit. Fulfilling and happy lives in a dating relationship. And they're like, well, we never got married, and so what do you have to say about that? That's fine. You know, do what you do. However, is it the fullness?
Yeah.
You'll never know.
Yeah.
You'll never know.
And you brought something up. You said you wanting the fullness of life without the sacrifice. When I think of marriage, I think of two are coming to an altar.
Yeah.
What do you do at an altar?
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice. Things die there.
Things die at the altar.
Yeah.
So when you are, of course, the two become one.
Mm-hmm.
So you die to your own self, and the two are joined.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good
Because
point.
because when I think about it from a gospel perspective and a godly perspective, God gets into this relationship without an out. When he made a covenant with Abraham, he himself put himself on the line because there was no out. In other words, I'm making this covenant and I myself am going to keep it. So then when I have that same mindset in terms of dating where I can just continue on in this ambiguity or continue on in this dating without the commitment, I'm giving myself, that's not the fullness of what God would want me to experience.
Right.
And we're talking about Christians here. Like, there may be unbelievers watching this, but I'm talking about within the context of belief in Jesus and discipleship to him. Like, no, go all the way. If that's where it's going, then take it there. Then go all the way. Brothers, don't have my sisters out here wondering whether that's where you're going or not. Because if it is, it is. If it ain't, it ain't. And when you know, you know. So, don't be out here always making that space for that out.
Yeah.
And there's a scripture, and I may be miscontextualizing this, but my dad used to always use it with me. Don't cast your pearls before swine. Or give yourself fully to a person who has not said, I'm committed my life with you. I've committed myself with you. It's kind of like, I was just talking to someone about this, and I'm going to say this again and again. You'll hear this again and again. I just finished talking to someone about the chesed love of God. And it's the covenantal love and the kindness of God. In other words, it's the kind of love that sticks around even when things get hard. Mm-hmm. It's the kind of love that God had for Israel even after they was tripping. It's the kind of love that Ruth had for Naomi, even though she could get nothing else out of the relationship. It's the kind of love that said, I'm going to be your people, be my people, and my God, your God will be my God. And so when we decide to commit with someone, he wants us to experience that hesed kind of love, that hesed kind of kindness, the love that sticks around.
Mm. That's so good.
Yeah.
I could go on and on with that, but yeah.
Whew. We almost done, y'all. So, how, in your guys' opinion, how should a married couple manage their money?
Oh, that could be a lot.
It can be.
That can be a whole another podcast in
Yeah.
itself. There's a lot of different things that go into it, but my quick answer would be manage the money with the other person in mind, which I do not always do. So I'm not claiming perfection on this by any means.
That's another
area. But
I'm gonna have to do.
But when you get married, your money is not your own. So nothing is your own, and so manage the money with the other person in mind, and manage the money with the future in mind. That's what I would say.
I would say there's certain principles that are just kind of like universal. So if you're getting married and this person believes in tithing, but the other person don't, that's a whole different situation.
Yeah.
Because what are we going to do? What is the foundation of our finances? And is it honoring the Lord, or is it we trying to get ahead? Like
right. Yeah.
What we trying to do? So I think that to me should be, how are they managing it first, by establishing the fact that are we trying to honor the Lord with our finances? So let's just get that out the way, because if we do, then we can look at now how are we managing this household.
Yeah.
Because I think that's contextualized based off y'all's life and things like that. You know, you got 2 vehicles, that's something different. Y'all got kids, that's something different. So contextually it fits based off what's happening in their life and where they are, but it needs to start with a sense of foundationally we need to honor the Lord. So
yeah, would definitely agree.
Let's see. Oh, okay. How does being Christ-like look in a godly marriage?
I think we mentioned your discipleship to Jesus. You just bring that into the marriage.
Yeah.
So if both of you are legitimately followers of Jesus, once you come into the marriage, you're treating each other like you're followers of Jesus. So it ain't weird or anything. It's just that if I'm showing fruits of the Spirit, if I'm patient with you, you benefit from the patience. And so I'm not now coming into the relationship saying, now I got to be patient.
No, I should do that anyways.
Yeah, as a follower of Jesus, this should already be coming out of me.
Yeah.
You just now are the recipient of it.
Right.
So I don't have to try to make myself be patient with you. The fruit of the Spirit is patient, and I have to give that to you.
Yeah.
And so those are the things I see in terms of Christ likeness in the marriage. You bring those in the marriage, and you build. Now your foundation is, if you had patience, now she has patience. That's a foundation that y'all are both standing on. So it ain't just he's patient and he's working with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So both of y'all are patient. So I'm a benefit from it too. So let's both step on this patient block and let's build another one. Long suffering. Let's both step on that.
Yeah.
Don't let me be long suffering and you just benefiting from it. Like as a followers of Jesus, we both are long suffering when this thing comes in. So we're both in it together, long suffering. So that becomes the foundation of it. So Christ likeness ends up getting to the point where we build on that. He's at the top and he's at the foundation, and everything flows from him. So
yeah. I just would say it looks like sacrifice. You're always sacrificing and giving up what's best for the other person. That's what love is sacrificial. And so Christ likeness in the marriage to me looks sacrificial. It looks like me looking out for the other person's best interest, me being their number one fan, their number one champion, their number one prayer warrior, and wanting to partner with God to see what he's doing in them, because that's what Jesus was doing. He was like, okay, the Father's I'm coming, and the Father has an agenda for me while I'm here on earth, and I'm partnering with him to fulfill that agenda.
Yeah, you're right.
So we have a unique question, a scenario question. You want to give this one? Because you're the one that came up with it.
Okay. So scenario question about a couple that's not in Christ coming to Christ and facing that dynamic change.
one person comes to Christ, the other does not, or they both come to
Yeah,
Christ.
both of them.
They
Of
both
okay.
come to Christ?
Okay.
Okay.
So what is it? The advice that we giving to them, or what are you saying? What are they about to experience? What are the changes they about to run into?
Yes. So
Yeah.
what are some changes that are they about
Phew.
to get into?
It's about to get real. Okay, so number one, conviction is introduced into this relationship
Oh, that's
now.
good. Come on. That's
So now there's the wrestle. There's
Yeah.
that wrestle of what was normal is no longer normal.
good. Yeah.
And so almost a sense of who's about to call who out first type deal.
Ooh.
So it's in the room. So
Yikes.
that part is sitting there, and again, when you're accepting Christ, like you don't just come in and all of a sudden it's just like you got this great Christian, handbook that comes with how you live life. But accepting Christ comes with the thing. So it comes with the fruit of the Spirit. It comes with His love. It comes with, so all those things are in there. Mm-hmm. Now it's a matter of utilizing them and putting those in the relationship.
Yeah.
But somebody has to show you how. But it's in you. You just don't know how.
Right.
So when you see God and Israel in Exodus, you see Him giving them the 10 Commandments because He's like, let me show you how to love me.
Yes.
Because right now y'all are still acting. I done saved y'all. I done
You
did
acting
all.
like Egypt.
Right, I done did all that I need to do. I done gave myself for y'all, pulled y'all out, and y'all still tripping a little bit. Why? Because you don't know how to love me.
Yeah.
So in the same way, I think in that couple there's going to be tension because they don't know how to love. They don't know how to show that love to one another.
That's good.
Everything that they had before that, it might have been beneficial, but it wasn't sustainable.
Yeah. And
So-
it mimicked the love.
Right,
It wasn't
right.
actual
Mimic love. It mimicked true love.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to dismiss somebody's relationship that doesn't have the Lord and they love each other. I'm not saying that love and the feelings can't exist outside of it, but we know what we mean when we're true love is to know the love of Jesus. And so I think about that, and I think about new creature. So like now I'm a new creature, so everything that comes with me learning a new lifestyle and even the motivation behind why I love you, the way that I love you, everything has changed. So I'm a new creature, and I'm a new creature inside of this relationship.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
everything that comes with that,
That's crazy. Yep.
which is crazy.
And that takes the relationship on a different journey because again, when you're accepting Christ, you're trying to learn yourself. You already trying to figure out who I am in Christ.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you're trying to figure out who
I am
we
in
are in Christ.
Right.
Like, that's
who am
a
I in
lot,
Christ?
bro.
Who are
Like,
we in Christ?
Yeah, I'm like, hey,
a
bro,
lot.
that's a lot. I just want to know who I am in the
Child,
Lord.
because sometimes by myself, I be like, I don't know what we on
Right.
today.
I know.
I got what you on and what I'm on.
Right.
Oh, Lord.
That's
Father
what I'm
God.
trying to say.
Oh,
They
that's
coming
good.
to you just and got out of worship night. They coming. I'm just sick of this. You like, bro? You gotta go. You gotta leave.
Go back in your car. Go back in your car.
I'm
Yeah.
straight right now. You bringing the energy all off, bro. Like you just doing too much.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Oh,
Good.
man.
Yeah. So, do you have anything else?
No.
Oh, okay.
That was,
Okay.
Yeah, no. Everything changes. New creature. That's where my mind went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you said,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, we are going to wrap up. This will be our last question.
Okay.
What advice would you give to those, and it's going to be for you, Pastor Mo, to a woman, and for you, Pastor Travis, to a man. What advice would you give to those who are dating, wanting to be married, to those engaged, to those who are engaged, and to those who are newlyweds?
Okay, so I'll go first. For a woman who is single, wanting to be married, I would say in every way that God is trying to sanctify you, work with you, mold you, shape you, submit to that process. Whatever it is. If no matter how big or small, submit to the processes of sanctification and formation that God's trying to put you in and through. If that language sounds unfamiliar to you, then you've got to do some exploration to get to a place where you're going to be challenged in your walk to grow. Whether that's being community, whether that's joining a new church, whether that is whatever that is, you should be able to name something right now that God is working on you on. And if you can't, then that means that you're not aware of the formation that's happening within you. So I would say in every way that God is trying to shape you, be shaped.
Yeah.
And submit to that process, and also really begin to pray about the person that you want the Lord to bring your way. There's nothing, we get kind of, I'm not saying name it and claim it language where you start to put it in, and if I say it enough times, I'll manifest my husband. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is begin to pray about the type of person that you want to be with, and have a dialogue with the Lord. Y'all get on the same page and allow him to speak into the list as well, because he knows what's good for you more than you do. Stay strong and stay encouraged. It's hard out here. Singleness is not easy. Neither is marriage. And so that's what I would say. God can do it. He will do it. I saw him do it in my own life, and I didn't get married till I was 30. And that just is what it is. And so that's what I would say to that person. To the fiance, would be similar, to submit to all the processes and submit to all the things and breathe. Give yourself a break. Give yourself grace, because everything's not going to be perfect. Everything's not going to go the way you plan. What I can guarantee you, whatever picture you have in your head about how the marriage is going to be, it's going to be slower than that, harder than that, different than that. Try not to adopt the stories and the narratives about what marriage is and what it isn't, because everybody's marriage is different. Everybody's wedding is different. Everybody's marriage is different. And so that part, as well as adopting good married community. And then newlyweds, enjoy marriage. As you probably already figured out by now, that marriage is extremely underrated. It is the best thing ever. To me, I'm so glad that I'm married, and so enjoy that and be patient with your spouse, because you don't know how to be married. They don't know how to be married either. There are 3 people in your marriage. There are 3 individuals, and it's you and your spouse and the Lord. And as long as you remember that together, you're a family. Without kids, it's just you 2 of you. You are a family from the very beginning. Kids don't make family. You make family. So you are a family, and you're a family with God. And treat the marriage like it's a family.
I'm just gonna say what all she just said, because it's this. Yeah, just
that's what I would say.
Transferring over. No, I think number one, I think if you're young and you're single, I think that your fellowship and devotion to Jesus is the most important thing right now where you are in your journey. I think you need to focus on becoming the man of God that you would want someone to be with.
Yeah.
Rather than you trying to be with somebody and then become that.
Yeah.
That's going to be really hard for you. And it's going to be exposing, and it's going to hurt your pride. So I'm just going to say fall back from that. So just focus on my devotion to the Lord, my submission to him, and continue growing in his likeness. Because if you step into the stage of being engaged, that's where you become more committed. And that's where, your word, your yes be yes and no be no, that's where that now is more validated. It either is or it isn't. You made the commitment, you're stepping into this world, and so now that is a shaping phase. I would use the word a shaping phase that you're about to step into, because now you can't just hide underneath your singleness. This is who you're finna become, and everybody is looking at this part as if it's like he's gonna be a good man. Like that's a whole shaping phase.
Yeah.
You stepping into that again, holding on to your relationship with the Lord in that shaping phase is going to be really critical. I know for me, that's what it was for me. I held on to him, and I was desperate to say, like, you have to make me who you. I think I have an idea of who I could be, but I'm not married yet.
Right.
So I don't know who I look like married.
Yeah.
So I need you to help me to be who I need to be in that phase. And it may not be, oh, you're going to be a guy that steps in and got all your finances together. You ain't got no debt. You got all your clothes. You got a good car. That may not be who you are going into the newlywed phase. Mm-hmm. You may be a guy who's faithful to the Lord, still trying to get your stuff together, your finances, and maybe you're still trying to pay off student loans and things like that. Have some grace for yourself. As a man, you want to have your stuff together and you want to act like I just got it together. I'm ready to get married now. No, let the Lord ready you.
Yeah.
And be faithful to those little things that you have in your life. Don't just act like they ain't there. They there.
Yeah.
But being faithful to the Lord to say, Lord, I don't really want to bring these into the marriage, but you've brought me my spouse now. And now we're young and we're married, and we're young and married with these things that I have and with those things. And I believe that's where the Lord begins to change you and form you in that newlywed phase, because you're being introduced to this newness, all this newness, and you're being introduced to that. But at the same time, you guys have to be patient. Like she said, that patience with one another now becomes the forefront thing in y'all's marriage, because you came in here with all these things. I came in here with these things. Mm-hmm. Now, we can't use these things to start trying to build our marriage around, but at the same time, we have to address them and say, how we going to go about fixing this? Guess what? We have to depend on the Lord.
Yeah.
Because with your $80,000 of student loan in mind, like, we ain't finna just get a check and that's finna disappear.
Yeah.
So guess what? Our faithfulness to one another, our faithfulness to Him, and our faithfulness in our finances will over time get it down. We'll make it. So you have to start off slow in that marriage. Everybody wants to start off hot, but you have to start out slow in there, and you got to start out with patience for one another. That has been the key cheat code for me. My discipleship to Jesus, my devotion to Him, and my patience that I had, giving it room to be formed by Him, and also for us to adjust to this newness.
Yeah.
All newness, there's an adjustment. I don't care if it's a pair of shoes, a new phone. I don't care if it's furniture. All newness has to be adjusted to, and it ain't gonna happen in the first couple weeks.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my advice. I hope they listening and take that advice. But if not, hey, brother, I ain't gonna put my number on. I ain't gonna put my number on here, but look me up.
You know where to come down to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
St. Louis metro area. If you want to meet them, it's a new life in O'Fallon.
We out here.
For sure.
So,
or if you my age or a little bit younger in the 13, 17, or probably younger than that, because they got K2 on.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, you slide the KA, you know what I'm saying?
Come through.
That's another great experience.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Y'all so much.
You know what? This it right here.
Very nice experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely enjoyed each moment.
Yeah.
So, thank
I
you.
appreciate the
All
drinks,
Yes,
the
thank
chips. We
Snacks,
just
the hospitality.
yeah, that's what it
Yes.
is.
Hey, like, share, subscribe.
Subscribe.
Siblings in the
Sing.
Spirit podcast.
Let's get it.
Let's go.
Yes.
Sure. So before we close out, for everybody who doesn't know Jesus, we would like to say the prayer over you to lead you to Christ in this moment.
Yes.
So
because who can have a godly
marriage without
marriage and dating without God,
we don't do it.
So yes.
So all heads bowed, all eyes closed. Lord, I just come before you, and you can repeat after me as well. Lord, I know you now, and I want to give my heart to you. I believe in you, and I want to accept you. And I want to grow my relationship with you so that I can be made new. Come into my heart. Have a relationship with me. I believe and I accept. Lord, I thank you. And in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
So yes, thank you guys.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Siblings in the Spirit.
And if you did pray that prayer with us, then congratulations.
Yes.
Because
Say.
you accepted
accepted
the
into
Lord.
the kingdom.
Trust me, it's that easy.
Your
That
name
true to
is
me.
written on the Lamb's Book of Life, and the Lord, when the Lord comes back, He will be taking you with Him.
Yeah, just stay focused. Keep going.
Yes.
Keep going in your relationship.
And you can always use this tool or use this podcast as a tool to grow closer to the Lord.
Yeah.
So, yes. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope this podcast has blessed you, and I hope this episode, you've learned a lot on this episode. So, stay tuned for the next one. We will be back soon.
We will be back soon. Episode 3 is going to be a much longer season. Because I know we left y'all with 3 episodes last season.
Yeah, we ain't going to do y'all like that this time.
So. We on go mode. We got a lot of things going on behind the scenes. So for sure, we will be with you whenever. But you will see us.
All right, y'all. Bye.
See ya.
Peace.